Hello and welcome. My name is JodieLynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness, and this is my dear friend Heather Marie.
Hi, I'm Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate. Welcome to Channel Squared, where we have extraordinary conversations about everyday life topics.
We sure do. Okay, today we're diving into Ascension. It's time part 2. So if you missed the first one, go back to last week's video and watch it. We were talking about things like why do you want to ascension symptoms. I can't even say that. And so much more. And today we're really diving into our own frequency. We're going to talk about protecting yourself. We're going to talk about talking to your higher self, feeling into others' frequency, what it's like to receive information. Oh my gosh, just so much, right, Heather?
So much, so much. I was looking at our list and I'm like, gosh, are we going to be able to cover all of this in the amount of time that we have allotted? Stay tuned for part 3. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. It's so true. There's so much. Where do we even want to start? Should we just start with like the basics? Maybe like breathing?
I think that sounds like a wonderful place to start.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody guys. Just breathe.
Just breathe. I mean, it's so important though. I mean, we're being silly about it right now. But I was mentioning this on Facebook in my stories earlier, was just that we got onto this topic because you were feeling a lot of energy in your field. And I remember waking up one morning and being like, whoa, where is this extreme anxiety coming from? And because I know myself so well, I knew that it wasn't necessarily mine. Maybe it was mine mixed in with a bunch of others within the world, because I am empathic and I feel the world and the trauma, the turmoil, everything that's going on. And I literally, I couldn't do anything, Heather, but go outside, put my feet on the ground and breathe.
I mean, the thing is that the breath is so important because it allows you to assimilate everything. It allows you to move through energy, and it sort of you can actually transmute that energy and how it affects your body just by breathing alone. So example, when you're in the car and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late, and you're like hurrying and you're like, am I going to get it? Or am I going to get there? And so you're just like, you're getting all this excitable, like crazy energy. And then you're like, okay, you get to a red light and you're like, I'm just going to get there when I get there. And then all of a sudden you're like, yay, I arrived and on time somehow magically. It's like you can just take that breath in and then exhale everything, all of the stress, all of the anxiety, all of the fear, and just move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's how it is for me.
100%. Shameless plug for our session for next week. We're actually going to have Lauren on, and we're going to talk more about that, the trauma that gets stuck when you don't acknowledge all of that. But I agree, just taking a moment to breathe and feel into your energy. Let's talk about that. There is a difference between everyone. You have your own unique energetic signature, I'll call it. And so does your mom or your dad or your husband or your wife, and everybody that you are connecting with, as well as objects. I was actually explaining this to my niece on the weekend. I was babysitting her. And I took her to like the health food store, and we were getting crystals and, whatever. Right. And I got her some like essential oils. And I said, okay, now we're going to, I didn't want to buy the kids sage and a lighter because, I'd get in trouble. for doing that. Giving a 10-year-old a lighter is probably not a good idea. So I said, okay, we're going to clear these crystals in the moonlight. And she's like, well, what does that do? And I was explaining to her how everything has energy. And she's such a smart kid. She's already feeling other people's energy. She's already feeling the energy of her parents, the people at school, the world in general. And I said, sometimes that stuff really gets stuck and you just need to take a deep breath. So we were like laying on her parents' bed and I was teaching her how to like feel into Mother Earth and to feel into herself and to feel into source. Quite a topic with a 10-year-old.
But I think it's an important topic to cover with any age, but 10 is a really, really special age because they've unplugged, so to speak, from everything that they knew when they came in. Right. And so now, that happens around age 7. And so at that point, they start really developing their personalities. They've got a few years of doing it kind of on their own. And so I think it's a really special time to do exercises like that with your kids because, nieces, nephews, whatever, the youngins, because it allows them to tap back into what they came here knowing.
Yeah.
And the sooner that they do it, the better they'll be at it as adults. And wouldn't it be a fantastic world if everybody taught their kids like how to breathe, how to meditate, how to go inward and look at, how that, affects, how whatever is going on affects you, affects them, and like re-tapping into that innate knowing that you came here with, like what a different experience we all would have if more people did that.
100%. 100%. And that identifying of what is mine and what is not mine.
Exactly.
We really take on the world's pain. I know for me anyway, I would try and take everybody's pain away. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel scared or upset or mad or, whatever it is. I wanted you to feel good. So without knowing it, I would actively try and take that from them and put it on my own shoulders. How did you start feeling into yourself versus others, Heather?
Woo, that's a loaded question. Honestly, I just took on everybody's shit for a long time, like being an empath. And I know that we've got some empaths here, watching right now. And like when you are an empath, it's like your little feelers are constantly out doing this all the time with every person, place, or thing that it encounters. And then it's like, oh, that person's sad. I can feel that. Oh, now I feel sad. Oh. And it's like, you kind of do this over and over and over again. And I think that unfortunately for me, I would say it probably wasn't until I was maybe in my late 30s, like mid to late 30s, before I started realizing that all that shit wasn't mine, and that it belonged to somebody else. I had this extraordinary healing session. And she went in and she had removed all of the energy from my field. And I had never actually cleared my energy at that point. Can you believe that? I was like 30 something years old before I had ever cleared my own energy. But
wow,
I had it all cleaned off. And she asked me afterwards, how do you feel? And I was like, I don't even know. Like, I feel like nothing. Like I'm just nothing. I'm in the nothingness. Like I just feel absolutely nothing. And she goes, oh, she says, it's because you've never actually felt your own energy before. I didn't even know what my energy felt like because I'd had taken on so many other people's energy.
Yeah.
That was kind of a long way around getting to that answer, but, like, how was it for you?
I too was in my 30s. I didn't know like I knew a little bit about energy, and I would do some things intuitively when I was public speaking. Like I would imagine like turning the volume up in terms of like bringing people's energy up. I could feel that. I could work with that, change it, bring it up, bring it down. But I was doing it all just unconsciously. And it wasn't until I had a coach that said, you take on other people's stuff. So I started to just play with it. I would sit in my office, and as a financial advisor, I was seeing lots of people, and they would sit across the desk from me or kneecap to kneecap at a kitchen table, and I would just take a breath and I would lean into them energetically, feeling what's going on. And then it's like it hit me that I had been doing this my whole life, or at least my career, feeling into people. And that's kind of how I knew the questions to ask or what they were feeling, or I would be able to sense when somebody wasn't being honest, or when someone was embarrassed or shameful of their financial life and experience at this point. And I could feel those things, but it was the first time that I was consciously aware. And then I started to play that game of like, is it mine? Is it not mine? Anytime that I would feel bad, essentially like mad about something or upset about something, I would just check in and ask, is this actually mine, or is it someone else's? And I would wait for that answer. And then I would start to pull those two things apart so that I could see me as me without all of this other stuff, and then let that go. But again, it wasn't until I was in my, early 30s that I even knew that I could do this, or I knew that it existed, or why you would even want to do it, to be honest.
Right. Well, and I think that when you work with people, you tend to feel their vibe, right? I mean, everybody feels the vibe. Whether they acknowledge that they feel the vibe or not, that's a totally different subject. But everybody feels the vibe that another person puts off. So, when you come into a room and you can feel that glug of the person's energy being lower than yours, it's really cool to be able to feel into that and assist them in some way to uplift them, to bring them up, closer to your vibration. And, I would, in a former life, I had a spa. And so in my skincare practice, I had ladies that their husbands were having affairs. They were having affairs. Their kids had terminal illnesses. I mean, they had terminal illnesses. I mean, just everything. They lost parents. I mean, I went through a lot of really like low vibe stuff with a lot of different people, and they would come in feeling like dirt, less than dirt, like whatever the yucky part of the dirt is. They would come in feeling like that, and they would leave and they were like, gosh, this is so what I needed today. I just needed to like be in your energy. And I never really like understood or captured what they meant by that until much later in life. And I was like, oh, I see. I was like unconsciously raising their vibration, like you said. Just and now that we know what we know, it's even more fun, because it's like, well, if I maintain this state, I can affect everybody around me. I can even affect people without them even knowing I'm affecting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just saying to a friend this morning that something has shifted energetically. And I don't spend a lot of time around people now with what's going on in the world. I just don't really go out that much. And I mean, maybe we can talk a little bit about that in protection. Not that you have to stay in a cave, but sometimes it's easier to stay in the zone that. For me though, something has shifted within my own energy. Everywhere I've been going over the last like 3 days, people want to talk to me. Like I went to pick up food, and I was with my niece, and she was in the car, and there was like a skip the dishes lady picking up food or whatever, or waiting at the same time. And I'm pleasant. Hello, how are you? I'm nice to people around me. And she just kept talking and talking and talking and talking. And like at the end, she was like, "Can I have your phone number?" And I was, "Yeah, sure. Okay." Then we went for a walk to the park and there was some random guy that was sitting on a park bench or whatever. And like, we were like 100 feet away from him and he made a point to talk to me. And my niece is like, "How do you know that man?" I'm like, "I don't, I'm just nice, whatever." I go to the grocery store yesterday to pick up some pizza and this guy follows me out and he's like, "Oh, tell me about the pizza." Like I stood in the parking lot talking pizza with a random stranger for like 10 minutes. These people are just coming in droves. And it's most likely because I'm so rooted and anchored into my own frequency, into positivity, into joy, bliss, that they see that and they're attracted to that. They want to be a part of that. But it's just so interesting how we connect with others and how we influence without saying a word.
Exactly. And it's just the vibe that you're putting off, right? It's that little frequency that's going out and everybody's like, "Ooh, I like her. I'm gonna go talk to that lady over there."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it's when we look at this, when I started to learn or lean into this, it was really easy to fall into other people's energy and to take it on. I think we get addicted a little bit to our own pain and like stuck in the uncomfortableness. Like we like it. We don't like it, but our brain thinks it's comfortable. So we pick up on it and we run with it. I don't know if you can relate to that, but I know that that's something that I used to do a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, it's the hurry, 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 hustle. Everything is happening all at once, running from one fire to the next. It's the over busyness, you know? And I think that, as the world is shifted into this new experience, it really gave people an opportunity to slow down and really look at their life, and now it's making us aware of how things were before. It was just this constant, like grind, something to do, always got to show up for people. Like you just always have to like be doing and be productive. Bum, 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 bum. That word comes with a bum, 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 bum. And so I think that is what, creates the stress. It's just there's this constant stress and people get so attached. It's almost like this badge of honor. I'm so tired and I'm so stressed. That fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah. Something I used to say a lot is, "I don't feel well."
Yeah.
Because I thought that was the only way that I could give myself a break. This is, I mean, maybe a little off topic, but it deals with energy. I would say I don't feel well so that I could let myself off the hook for doing something, and bam, then I would get sick. Come on.
Yep.
Yeah. Or I really didn't feel good. And getting stuck in that overwhelmed cycle, it's easy to be overwhelmed. It's easy to get into this rut. I was just doing some work on this last week where I was telling myself I was overwhelmed and that didn't have time for anything. And I caught myself in the middle of it. And I was like, "Hey, this isn't me. I don't do this anymore." Like I firmly believe I do not want to do anything for money anymore. I choose not to do anything for money. I choose to do things for joy. And I choose to believe that there's all the time in the world to do the things that I want to do. And when I choose my highest joy, money and abundance comes. And I have proven it over and over again. But I'm human, so I get stuck in ruts too. So I get stuck in this rut where I'm like, catch myself saying like, "Oh, I'm just so overwhelmed," or there's just so much going on in this like busy frequency around it. And I was like, okay, like, what do you feel overwhelmed with or like unsupported with like right now? Well, the first thing that entered my mind was, well, I can't do what I want to do. Okay. And then I looked at my schedule. It was so funny. It was last Wednesday. And it's like, okay, so what do you have going on for the rest of the week? Oh, something else I used to say to myself, I just got to get to this day and then I can breathe. That was another one of, I call them red light indicators, that I was running in a pattern, right? So yeah, I just got to get to this point and then I can breathe. And so I questioned all of that last week on Wednesday. I sat down and I was like, what the frick are you doing? Like, you are causing this overwhelm. You are causing this feeling of unsupported, this frequency and this, when I get to here, I can, relax. And the first thing that came up, like I said, was, well, I can't do what I want to do. And I am very brutally honest with myself. So then, JodieLynn, who's telling you what to do? Like, why are you doing these things? And I open up my schedule and I look, and Thursday, this is all that I had planned Thursday. Go visit my friend. The end. But it was like a 2.5 hour drive, and then obviously a hangout for a couple of hours, and then a 2.5 hour drive back. So there was things to do. And it was like, okay, so what is overwhelming about driving in a car? You love driving in the car. Oh yeah, I do. Okay, what's overwhelming or, like frantic or, like, do you not want to see your friend? No, I really want to see my friend. She had a baby and I want to hang out with the baby because I love babies. And, she only lives a couple hours away. Why wouldn't I? She bought a new house and all of these things. And I was like, man, I am making all this up in my head. This is all me. And as soon as I shifted that, the frequency changed. I had a beautiful evening that night. I had a beautiful day. And I wasn't waiting till Saturday when I could get a break, because I was giving myself those moments here in this moment. And when I changed my frequency, everything changed.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that, so many people, myself included, totally resonate with that. I mean, we've all been there. We're all of us. I can honestly say this about every human on the earth right now, except maybe the monks. They might be excluded, but everybody has had that experience where it's like, oh my gosh, if I can just get to this day, if I can just get to this day, if I can just get here, and the thing is that when you are living in that place where you're like, oh, if I could just get to, you're not actually enjoying the moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, how many times have you looked back in history at amazing things that you weren't even present for?
Yeah.
When my husband and I got married, it was really important to me to make sure that we had a videographer and a photographer. This was like a non-negotiable. Nobody was going to talk me out of this. And the reason why is because I decided that I was going to be 100% present in that day. Like, I did not want if something went wrong, oh well, it's just what it is. I can bitch about it later, but in that moment, I'm just going to go with it, whatever it is. And in knowing how I am about like always looking forward and then like, oh, I don't want to recreate the past. And like, this is always kind of this tether that I do. I just said, I'm going to set up my systems so that I can relive it later. But in the moment, I'm going to live it right now. And I think that, what you're talking about is, taking that energy of if I can just get to, and transmuting it into, but right now is great too. And tomorrow is going to be so fun. This is something that I've been looking forward to. I like riding in the car. I love babies. I love my friend. Who needs a vacation from that? I don't need to get to Saturday.
Yeah. Saturday is right now. The things that I was looking forward to on Saturday can be now in this moment. And I think it's that reminder and that acknowledgement that you're in that pattern, that you're in that frequency, because we can't fix something unless we acknowledge that. I don't even want to say fix it. We can't change anything unless we acknowledge that it's there, that it can be changed, that we'd like to work through it, that we'd like to experience something different, from a place of curiosity and love.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Boom.
Boom. Yes. Amazing. And there's definitely a lot of things that I do to support me. And you were kind of just saying this, like setting up your systems. Some things that I do regularly is clearing. I think that is so, so important. And it's something that I forget to do as well. Oh yeah, that makes me feel better, right? I think this is just the human experience of like remembering and forgetting and remember like going back and forth between the two. But like just even as easy as stepping inside the shower and just taking a conscious breath and having this conscious intention of as the water rolls down my body and into the drain, it is taking with it any frequency that does not support my highest good.
Yep.
Huge game changer. But how many times have I had a shower without doing it where I'm like, oh, I got to get to the next thing or whatever. It's that conscious slowing of no, there's lots of time and this will give me more time. And it does every time I do it. When I take the time to consciously clear all of that stuff, hours later, I'm like, wow, it's been, hours since I did that. And then I look at my clock and I'm like, wow, it's not even like close to my bedtime yet. I have so much time to do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that, you spoke about remembering and forgetting, and it's like you remember and you forget, you remember and you forget, and about the human experience. And so I think something that I would like to say here is that it's okay to have that humanness. Nobody's going to do it perfectly. It's okay to have the humanness of remembering and then forgetting and then be like, oh yeah. And then, oh gosh, I totally fell off the wagon. Oh, come on, and oh yeah, I mean, this is part of why we came here, right? Was to be, have a monkey mind. So, it's okay to remember and forget and go through the cycles of remembering and forgetting. The main thing is that, when you are finding yourself not moving out of it, that you start implementing your tools. You can, like start by, breathing, meditate, talk to your high self. Your high self is with you all the time. She, he, it is always there. Always.
Yeah. Well, why don't we dive into that? Talking to your higher self. Oh man, so important. When I first started though, I felt like I was just crazy.
Yep. That's a common occurrence. I think everybody goes through that. Yeah. I mean, so when you want to talk to your high self is just right here. So if you can take your thought, your question, and you raise it to here, and you say, hey, high self, what do you think about this? Should I eat the donut over there with the sprinkles? You should immediately get a yes or a no. It'll come in many forms and it'll be different for everybody. Some people will hear it as a yes, you should, or no, no, no. Some people will feel it as like an internal, like knowing. So you'll hear it, you'll get it here, or you'll feel it here. Something that is kind of fun to do when you first are kind of starting to work with your high self, make yourself kind of like into like a human pendulum. Anybody who knows me knows how much I hate pendulums and shit like that. But this is the one exception. And that is it's your physical body, right? You're going to feel if something's messing with you. So, you just stand there really straight with your feet together. And then you say, high self, show me yes and then you wait, and it's going to lean you forward or to the side or to the corner side over here or back here. It's going to lean you somewhere. Okay. Show me yes, and then have it lean you. And then you say, you go back to center and you say, now show me no, and it will move you a different way, usually the direct opposite way. But it's important that you don't let your little muscles get involved. You just got to stand there like a skinny rod. And then once you get your yes and your no, then you can say, go back to center and you go, should I eat that donut? And if it leans you to yes, eat the damn donut, dude, and enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
And enjoy it. And if your high self says no, it's up to you to take the advice. But the more that you communicate and you work with your high self, the more your high self will be able to direct you and guide you and move you along your path in like a safe and fun way. Because your high self is experiencing everything that you are as if your high self is you. The only thing that is different is that your high self isn't necessarily experiencing all of the human emotions that you get to experience as a human being. But the knowing, the memory, the value of that emotion, like the value of that experience, that is what your high self gets to experience. So the more joy and fun that you're having, the more joy and fun your higher self is having, because the value is much greater when it's joyful and fun and loving. So I don't know if that's a helpful exercise or not, but I found it. I would go up and down the grocery store aisles with my high self when I was first starting to work with her. She was like, get the Oreos.
Lauren said that she likes your explanation better than emotion code. And I agree with Lauren. I learned from the emotion code as well, muscle testing and the lean forward or lean back. But I just love the way that you described that. And I too started in the grocery store with like hold objects and then like be like, do I want this? Do I need this? Like, what is it? And I think you touched on something really important. It's opening up and fostering that communication. It's like when you get into a new relationship with someone, you're looking to, open up the dialogue, but also understand their perspective. You're also trying to understand the words that they use, especially between men and women, right? So the more that you practice with your high self, bringing, her, him, whatever, into the conversation and being a part of, you doing the pendulum thing or, going to the grocery store, or that's why I used to love car rides so much, driving, like me in my car by myself, is because that's when I would talk to my high self, like, oh, hey, what's going on? And, it's uninterrupted time outside, like driving on long distance drives. I would have all this time. And instead of listening to the radio and instead of listening to even good podcasts or good books, I started to learn about me, learn about my high self, open that line of communication and really start to fine tune what I am hearing, because there's a difference between your ego and your higher self.
Yep. Definitely. And, the thing is, for those who don't know the difference between ego and high self, your ego is the part that gets cranky. So when you are experiencing something from your ego self, it's the part of you that is like almost like one extreme to the other, right? So like you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm so cool. Okay, this is like the normal ego that we all think of as ego. But ego is also the part of you that's like, that person is like doing it so much better than I am. That person is like, it's that comparing part. Ego is also like, oh my gosh, I have to do this thing like right now because like if I don't, somebody else might get it. Right. So these are like your extreme emotions are typically triggered by your ego self. Your high self is just going to be like, it's cool. Whatever's good with you is good with me, unless it's something that's obviously like going to change your plan or your purpose. Then your life self, your high self is like, no, you're going to turn right. And if you don't, I'm going to crash you into that car in front of you.
Mhm.
Danger,
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 warning.
danger. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. It's it's so important to start fostering that conversation. And then I think we could even turn now into speaking to other beings and that level of protection, because I think once you start opening yourself up, especially if you have a really big mission on this planet, you have a giant target on your back. And for psychic attacks, for, I don't know, shit coming up and happening. So it's so important to have some sort of ritual or some sort of protection mechanism. And when I first started, I didn't have nothing. Nothing
Mhm.
at all. That's why I would
Mhm.
channel in my car, Lauren. While driving, not safe, not recommended.
No. Let's
Yeah.
not be channeling while we're driving. That's not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. Um,
No.
I mean, yeah, when you start opening up that communication, you're starting to open your channel, right? And everybody has one. So it's really important. And this is something that, I do with all of my clients is establishing a protection ritual. There are a lot of different ways that you can do it, and it's different sometimes for some than it is for others. But the thing is that the most important thing is that you are protecting you, your channel, your communication, and the beings that you are calling forward to communicate with.
Mhm.
So I tend to use Michael, Archangel Michael, um, because, he's like the bouncer of the universe. Why not? So, some people have actual guides that are for protection. I have a particular guide that is there specifically for protection. And so much so that this guide will physically manifest if I am in a dangerous situation. I've never actually seen it, but I have had dangerous things happen to me or almost happened to me. And the reason they didn't was because of the man that was walking with me. So, it depending on who you are and what your plan is and what your purpose is, how big of a spiritual protective guide team you have, it'll differ.
Mhm.
But ultimately, everybody has at least one. Michael, we can use Michael. So, when you are going to open this communication, it's really important to protect yourself because the polarity is there, right?
Mhm.
And you hit it right on the head. The target gets bigger the bigger your purpose and the bigger your plan.
Mhm.
So for those souls that are here just experiencing being human and like having some babies and working a job and eating some food and they don't have very big of a target. They got a little target. Everyone's got a target. Their target's just a little smaller than, somebody who might be, I don't know, creating new planets or, bringing in new currency or, channeling for the world, right? So
Mhm.
the thing is that do yourself a favor, and before you start really getting into that communication, that channeling, opening yourself up, if you're going to go beyond your high self and your master guide, get a protection ritual.
Mhm.
It's important. It's probably
So
the most important.
so important. Some things that I experienced when actually you were teaching me to channel, and we were going into this practice. Something that I was really afraid of was turning it off. Having segregated time to actually receive the information, that frightened me, because I had this vision of like, oh, they won't give me anything and nothing will come through. And, which is all BS. They will wait for you. And I mean,
Yes.
some people will go crazy when they leave their channel on and open all the time. That's not what you want. And for me, the reason why it started to become, unbearable, so to speak, was because I would start receiving stuff when I was driving, when I was doing other things where I didn't have time to like pull over and scribe what I was being told. And then, because they already told me, they don't really want to repeat it again, or, it's like one of those things, like, we already told you. And I would then not have all of the pieces that I needed. So me having a ritual, having this protection set up, gave me the ability to turn it on and turn it off when I was ready to receive, when I was in that space to receive that information, not just 24/7. That is so important. And I think something else that you said, Heather, was, who are you talking to? I get that from people all the time, is like, well, I don't know who I'm talking to. Okay. This is just my opinion, and you can fill in here, Heather, because you are the channel. But my opinion is, okay, if you were to talk to people, just regular old people throughout the world, and somebody is telling you XYZ, whatever it is, okay, would you accept that? Would you believe what they're saying? Would you take their idea and run with it if it was just some random stranger that gave you this information, or not?
And that is like, that is right where it is, right? I mean, look at what's happening in our world right now. Okay. We have a bunch of people who are in complete polar opposite of information related to the world, the Rona, Maxine, all of these things that are going on. And you have complete opposing opinions. And I see oftentimes on social media, this back and forth, right? One person stating their claim, the other person stating their claim. They're kind of arguing online. And the thing is that, you're not going to take that guy's advice. He's not going to take your advice.
Yeah.
So, that's exactly right. Why are you going to take this thing's advice when you don't even know what the heck that is?
Mm-hmm.
That being could be anything. Not to freak anybody out, but it could be anything.
It could be anything. Yes. Oh my gosh. Can I tell my hijack story?
Yeah. Tell your hijack story. Yeah.
Okay. Long story short, because this one goes deep. I was doing the rituals. I was doing the things. I was protecting myself, but I started to get sloppy. I stopped verifying who I was talking to, and started just to take things at face value, because I'm human. I got comfortable, and then I was like, "Yeah, this is easy. It's so comfortable, whatever." Right. And so I got introduced to these 13 beings that came into my field from somebody that, I trusted and everything. And that was okay, but I never really verified them. And then things started to go a little sideways. It felt like this feeling of like, like it was pressure, and it was like I couldn't do things fast enough. And then, it was fascinating, the information that they were divulging. I went historically so many different places. I was, time jumping in different timelines, and it was really cool and interesting, but a lot of rabbit holes that were not on point, not a part of my mission, not where I was supposed to be going. I mean, it's not that the information wasn't valid, but it was like I was on a wild goose chase. And then things got darker and darker, and these beings were pushing for a darker agenda. And that's when it really clicked. It was like, oh, who am I talking to? Let's actually go in, verify who these beings are, why they're here, what their intention is. And last thing was, I would just feel so tired after dealing with them. And those were my cues that they weren't of the light, they were of polarity. And I could choose to continue to work with them, but it was going to cost me something, whether it was physical or energetic. And it could be a wild goose chase. It could be, great information, but I could be sorting through stacks and stacks of data before I ever found the point. And my mission is based in light, not polarity. So right. I needed to go through that lesson to really take my channel seriously, the guides that I had seriously, and remember to verify clearly the information. When you have a big mission, and you have these specific keys that you're supposed to bring to the world, I think it's so important to verify who the message is coming from. That's my rant.
I think that, when you kind of touched on something that's really that there's another point and component that goes to this. And that is that, you made a really very important distinction in the vibrational value of that experience, right? So, when you were first channeling a certain group of guides, you'd feel pretty good about it. It was just kind of they were giving you information and it was good and you guys were vibrationally matched. And then when these new beings came in and you started working with them, you were very tired. They were kind of draining you. And, and it was because as that channel is being, hijacked by a lower vibrational being, it doesn't mean necessarily that the information is bad. And it doesn't mean necessarily that the guides are even necessarily bad. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're just a lower vibration than what you should be working with. And so when you are utilizing that information, it comes at a cost. If they have a lower vibrational value than you do, they have to siphon your energy in order to align to bring you the messages. So it's really important that you are going above your pay grade if you're going to get your information. Mm-hmm. The other thing that you were saying was something about the guides. I wrote down the word guides and then I chimed in and I've forgotten now what I was going to say. Shoot.
That is okay.
Hopefully it comes back.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so important to do this. One question that I had a friend ask me not that long ago, as we were talking about this, setting up a routine, a ritual, keeping yourself safe, sourcing. She asked me two questions, and I'd love your opinion on this. So the first question was, how do I even know who I'm talking to? And then the second one was that she felt like when she put those parameters around channeling, when I do this, I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm going to go in at this time and I'm going to do this specific thing to signify that my channel is open and I'm ready to receive. And I'm going to call in Archangel Michael or whatever the program is. She felt when she did that she was actually cutting herself off. She would do the whole thing, but she hates that much structure. She doesn't like the A, then B, then C. It stresses her out to do all of those things. And then she's like, did I do it right? Am I doing it right? And by the time that she got to the end of the ritual, she would just cut herself off and nothing would come through. So
Mhm.
what would you give for advice for, I guess, those two questions?
So, I mean, when I work with my clients, we get in there and we do a ritual that works specifically for you, right? Like some people's rituals are a lot of steps. I have a lot of steps. I have a lot of steps, right? I have the, cleaning and clearing my environment, removing all of the beings, and then calling in my protection, and then setting up the protection for all of the different things that I'm going to be working on today. And then, making sure that my channel is good and ready to go, that all of my chakras are aligned. Like, I mean, I have this whole huge, massive ritual. It takes me a solid 10 minutes to get all the way through my ritual. And if I'm not through it, everybody waits. And if you have to write it down and read that shit right off the page, it's just as powerful.
Yeah.
So, some people, they light candles, they burn sage, they bring in different things to, like all of the rituals are uniquely different. Some of them, there's a lot of similarities, but they're all a little bit different based on the type of channel that you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm not actually answering this question. I'm kind of going around the question. Tell me the question again, Jodie.
Well, how do you get past the fear or the block that when I set this up this way for this individual, they cut themselves off? Because there's, I guess, too much pressure now. Like, oh, now I'm ready, and everything sees it.
Yeah. No, and that's something purely psychological, right? So you should be, and it could be the order and how she's doing things. Sometimes when people do things a little bit out of order, like they may be like opening their channel first and then calling in protection. Other way around. Clean, protect, call in. Those are the steps. Clean, protect, call in. Okay. Then, like in your protection, you should be saying, protect me, protect my channel, protect the beings coming forward to communicate with us today, protect the souls that are here to receive the information.
Mm-hmm.
Make the communication clear. Like these are things that you need to state in your declaration to the universe that you're ready to work. And then when you sit back and you're like, okay, I feel good. Everything's good. Life is good. I have a question. My question is this, universe. And you ask your being that you called forward to answer the question. And then you wait. Relax. They want to tell you, you were talking about the turning it on and turning it off. So many people do not turn off their channel. It's insane. I would be completely mad. They would have to like lock me up if I did not have that like on really, really good, because they'll just yammer your ear off. They'll be like, oh, she's sleeping. Oh, hey, honey. What we want to tell you today is, and you would be like, oh my God, did you hear that? And you're like now awake at 3 a.m. going, I swear to God, I just heard something say something to me. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like they will wait until you are ready to receive.
Yep.
They have all the time in the world.
Time doesn't exist for them.
Time doesn't exist.
Yeah. And that's something that I stated in the very beginning when I set up my boundaries, just like I would with any other human. This is what I'm available for, and this is what I'm not available for. So when I called in the guides that work with me, I was like, listen, if this is on, you can talk to me. If not, you know how to get my attention so that I will come in. If it's really important, try and poke me that way. But no, if it's not on, I'm not available. I'm not in a space to receive. And at first I doubted that. And then I would get these gentle nudges. And when there was something that was like on point for me, like I needed to go in and I needed to receive information, it was time sensitive or pertaining to something I was going through, like things would happen that were obvious, like a plate would break, or this would happen, or like I would see my ritual sitting there and it's like ready. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I really need to do this right now. They would call me with other tools and I would go in and they'd be like, okay, thank you for coming in. You heard us, or, they would give me numbers 555 or whatever it was if I needed to go in. So I set myself kind of these fallback plans. Like if you really, really need me, like show me the number 555 or 1111 and I will know. And if I am available, I will come talk to you. But that's the only way. I think that's so important. And the last question that she had was, how do you know who you're sourcing? And for me, I learned by asking. And then I utilized you. And this is what you do for people that I think is so brilliant, Heather. And if somebody that is watching this is wanting to learn how to sharpen their channel, learn how to set up these protections, just find Heather and, all her links will be below, and scoop her up. Because working with you, Heather, was the most amazing ascension for me in that way, like tuning my channel. This is what I think I'm hearing, and you would validate. And then even just the frequency, like a finely tuned instrument, each one of my guides had their own frequency, and then they would, I call it, harmonize together, and that would feel completely different. And I practiced that with you day in and day out, so that it was this steady groove, that there was no way for me not to know that it wasn't who I thought I was speaking to. And to this day, I still verify all of the guides that I speak to with the tools that we set up. I verify each one of their channels, ask them to harmonize together, just show me certain things. If I feel into the room, if there's something else there, I'm hyper aware of who I'm talking to because my mission requires it. And I think that's so important.
Well, and I think that I'm sorry, I don't know if y'all are hearing that, but I keep knocking stuff over on my desk.
Getting excited.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, I think that is, thank you very much for the kind words to the assistants that I helped you. But, and I think that there are a lot of, when you talk about channels tend to, they're kind of a different group, right? Channels look at it like, well, I am a channel. I can get that information on my own. I don't need any help, but the reality is that even channels need help, right? Just because you can channel the information doesn't mean that you can channel all of the information. It doesn't mean that you couldn't use a little tune up, a little fine tuning of your channel. Even I need support sometimes, and so I think that, when you're having that ego moment and you're like, I don't need any channel to help me. I can just get the information on my own. What do I need a helper channel for? I think that, thank you, ego. You are so right. I'm so good. But I think I'm going to work with somebody anyway. And I think that gives a lot of integrity. There's a lot of integrity in working with somebody to fine tune your abilities, because if you are never the student, you're always the student. I'm always a student. I will be learning until the day that I die. And it will be from all kinds of people, channels, non-channels, humans that are here just to live life and do whatever. But like the point is like, you never stop learning. And there's something very integrous, especially if you are a paid channel, in working with another channel, because it's hard to see the picture when you're standing inside the frame. And when you work with various channels, you learn little like tips and tricks that they use. When I work with my clients, I teach them about vibrational understanding. They know who they're talking to based on that being's vibration, their energetic and psychic signature. And it is not something that can be fooled. It cannot be tampered with. It cannot be impostered. None of that can happen when you're learning from vibration. Vibration is as uniquely identifiable as a fingerprint. So a lot of channels that I've worked with, they go based on like, oh, I see them, you know, oh, I hear them. But those things can be changed. You know, shape shifting is a real thing.
Yeah. 100%.
So, yeah. Yeah.
But I love how you said that the vibration won't change. So that's how you'll know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So good. Oh my gosh. Our comments are blowing up here. I think as we kind of look at the time, that went by so fast.
Yeah, gosh.
I don't think we got through everything we wanted to. We could have talked about like the types of beings that you would call in Archangel Michael, like, you know, Mother Mary, like what they do. And maybe we'll have that conversation if people want to talk about different beings and how they can support you in this journey. We definitely can. But I just want to say hi to Lauren and Quinn, and I think Kat was here, and anybody else that is here as well. Hello. Did they have any questions, Heather, that we wanted to touch on?
I don't see any here. I was just kind of reading through that here, and you know, Quinn had made a comment about that I always had my channel turned on when we first met, and I did. And, you know, for millennia, like, you know, it was constantly on all the time. And, you know, having the tools in the toolbox to turn it on and turn it off, like it gave me my life back. You know, and
saying that,
you know,
Quinn's calling you a little crazy.
Yeah, he's like, crazy woman. Thanks, babe.
Just kidding.
But you know, because so many people they start to look at this gift, and I know I got to cut it off here, but like they start to look at this gift, this ability, and it starts to become a defining part of who they are. And it's okay if it's part of who you are, but is not only what you are. It is, you are here to still have this experience. Even if you're going to bring information from the other side, you still need to be a human and enjoy being a human. And they will just continuously download because they have no, and it's not even a respect. It's, they just don't have the wherewithal to know how that affects your physical body. So shut that shit off every day. Do the ritual when you turn it back on and control your channel.
Absolutely. I have one last question, I think. I think, or a statement, I guess. I think that there is a difference between the direct channel between my guide and being open to feeling source, open to feeling God, universe, abundance, whatever, feeling love through my heart, things like that. I think that these are two separate conversations. Would you say the same?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Because you can feel and experience, you know, God source in your life, and you can see where it's showing up for you outside of channeling information from beings on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. Quinn wanted to say having it on 24/7 makes you crazy. He's distinguishing.
And I still got him to marry me, even though I was crazy. That tells you something about him. He's a saint.
A saint, yes. we do have husbands that are saints. Mine too. Yes. I feel so blessed that as I have transitioned, the people that were around me, and you know, nothing is by accident. You know, I start feeling into energy and saging and almost burn the house down with sage. And do all of these crazy things. And my husband's like, this is really cool. And is so supportive. And, you know, my parents are so supportive. And it, you know, it's not by accident that you're here listening to this conversation with us, or the people in your life are with you. It's all, It's all by design. You all chose all of this. So I think we have to wrap it up here. Thank you so much to everybody that is here with us today. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button, the like button, share it with all of your friends, and hit the notification button so that you never miss the next episode. We are back here next week with Lauren. We're going to be talking
Lauren
about
Saracione.
Yes.
Yes, she is fantastic. I am so excited for next week.
Me too.
Not that I wasn't excited for today, but next week I'm really excited for.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about your light body, your physical body, how trauma gets stuck within the body, wreaks havoc, causes you to hold on to weight and, makes you feel gross. We're going to go into all of those things with Lauren. I'm so excited for that. So join us next week on Tuesday. And lastly, as always, our collective mission in this lifetime is to assist humanity through our individual gift sets. Heather's information is going to be posted below if you want to book a session with her or, hire her to help you fine tune that channel. She's a gifted trans channeler and helps leaders understand what their mission is and how to move through it. And for me, I help entrepreneurs consistently attract abundance. And I have a free webinar that you can check out, which we'll throw that link in there as well. Check out our websites, come and connect with us, come back next week. We just want to thank you for being here at this time and helping the ascension of the planet.
Yes.
Yay.
Bye, y'all.